गुड इवनिंग जेंटलमैन। मैं हूं आपका दोस्त मदन सिंह एंड आई एम गोइंग टू टॉक टू यू अनदर टॉपिक टुडे। बहुत से लोगों ने मेरे से पूछा है बाहर में भी और बाहर भी कि कैप्टन यूक्रेन में क्या होने वाला भाई, व्हाट्स गोइंग टू हैपन इन यूक्रेन। क्या ये जंग खत्म हो जाएगी? विल द वॉर फिनिश? विल द रशियंस get the portion they want and will Zelensky agree with the European Union will agree? ये क्वेश्चन लगता मुश्किल है बट उसका आंसर बहुत ही सिंपल है। अगर एक लाइन में मैं कहूँ तो मेरे ख्याल में ये जंग खत्म नहीं होने वाला, फॉर द सिंपल रीजन कि ये जो यूरोपियन पावर्स हैं ये अपने पास्ट ग्लोरी में रह रहे हैं। दे आर लिविंग इन देयर पास्ट ग्लोरी, यू नो, थिंकिंग कि एट वन टाइम वी आर हैविंग कंट्रोलिंग द वर्ल्ड, यू नो, ब्रिटिश एम्पायर, फ्रेंच एम्पायर, एक टाइम Spanish Empire भी थी. They were all there, you know, and they were controlling the world. So now they have lost all that, you know. So they are riding piggy bank on the Americans. And अगर Democrats power में होते तो लड़ाई चलती रहती और फिर थर्ड वर्ल्ड वॉर हो जाती। I think ये दुनिया की खुशकिस्मत है कि you know Donald Trump has come into power and he's come with an idea to make himself great. Basically, it's a personal aggrandizement, and he would like to bring about peace in Ukraine so that he can corner all the glory. This is the background to the whole thing. Now, the European powers are really perturbed. पहली बात तो इनकी power नहीं है. They have no military power of any strength, and the three biggest powers are France, Germany, and England. And they are as it is on their last legs. They can't fight any sustained battle against a totalitarian state like the Russians. And Donald Trump is trying his level best, you know, to bring about peace. That's what he's trying. But मेरे ख्याल में solution नहीं होगा, because Donald Trump at some stage घबरा जाते हैं। मैंने पहले भी बताया था आपको कि अगर ये लड़ाई खत्म करनी है, if you want to finish the war, you can finish it in 1 week. All Donald Trump has to do is to stop the supply of weapons and equipment to Ukraine. The Starlink's linking, which is courtesy Elon Musk, should be stopped. Ukraine will be defeated and it will sue for peace. And that would be a lesser evil than having a destruction of the entire Europe. So just compare, gentlemen. If Ukraine cedes territory to Russia now, it is a bargaining chip for world peace, and it's also a bargaining chip for the survival of the Europeans. That is very important. Bear in mind, Europe is facing an existentialist crisis and they don't realize it. They think that if they give this territory of whatever little territory Russians are asking to Russia, then Russians will come back with greater strength and the Europeans will be defeated. See, it's not so simple. I don't know whether French President Macron and the British Prime Minister Kama, they understand anything. There is a world of a difference of what was, you know, in the famous conference in Paris held in, I think, 1885, when Africa was carved up by the European powers. बैठ के उन्होंने कहा ये पोर्शन आपका, ये पोर्शन आपका. That's all over. And now they want to impose their will on Russia. Is not going to happen. They tried their level best. They expanded NATO right up to the borders of Russia. They did it, despite a promise that they wouldn't be doing it. And if the Europeans can break their promises, I see no reason why the Russians won't do it later. So, gentlemen, let's be very clear about it, that this war, I think, will continue because the Europeans are adamant that we will not give anything to Russia. But there is a rider. You know, when you have a physics experiment, we have a rider when we are doing the physics experiments. So the rider is Donald Trump. It's entirely dependent on him whether he wants to stop the war. If he is going to keep on giving weapons later on and say, no, you know, my friends, the European allies wanted me to continue giving weapons so that Ukraine can keep on fighting, well, there's no end to it. In that case, in due course of time, maybe within 6 months to a year, there will be a nuclear war. And Russia is not going to give up. I think Donald Trump has seen now the mettle of Vladimir Putin. So ये बात है कि options are only very limited. First option is that in case the European powers are not agreeing for a peace deal with Russia, and that peace deal means giving away the territory of the Donbas region to Russia, number one. Number two, removing the sanctions of Russia. And number three, no NATO in Ukraine. Well, Ukraine can have a guarantee or something like that. The Americans can guarantee the survival of Ukraine, even the Russians can do it, and it will be a joint exercise. The second point is that the Europeans and Ukraine don't agree and they want to continue fighting. In that case, the only solution is for Donald Trump to withdraw and say, okay, folks, you can keep fighting yourself, and I'm going to sit back and watch as a spectator. And in that war, the Russians will be winning, and then the Western powers, they will try to do some escalation. It could light a spark, nuclear war, and destruction of Europe. I'm sorry that I have to make this observation, but the fact remains that many of the European states are very small. They're equal to a few districts of India. Holland, Belgium, Denmark, they're just equal to a few districts of India. They'll be just cease to exist, and these countries have no say. I mean, they don't want to get involved in the fighting in Ukraine. Hungary doesn't want to do it. Poland doesn't want to do it. But then these people are doing all this jiggery-pokery, as we say, trying to put their pressure, trying to get back to the old age, when they were colonial powers. So that is the second thing. The third, of course, is, as I've already told you, the Americans can withdraw all support, and in that case, the Europeans will be defeated. There'll be a fait accompli, and peace will be there. So high stakes are there, gentlemen, very high stakes. Let us understand that it's not an easy decision. You are fighting against a man who is very strong, has an iron willpower, and let's hope and see that what happens. In the bargain, you see, there are some periphery issues which I will not touch on now. That is, India is there and China is there. Of course, India is not a global power, and it really doesn't matter because the Indians destroyed their own esteem, everything from the time of Nehru when they shot themselves in the foot. That's a fact of history. And even Modi here could have been more diplomatic. I mean, we'll talk about that later. I've already discussed these issues in various other videos. But the fact remains, gentlemen, that Ukraine is now on tenterhooks. Donald Trump is not a great philosopher, and he's got a very fixed mind. He wants to be known as the greatest American president, and this is his last term. He's got 3.5 years to go. So that is the issue which is really bugging the whole thing. He is pushing for peace, and he achieved something. I will tell you, achieved a peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan. That's on the record. And he did put pressure and got the Indo-Pakistan war stopped. And despite all the hula bula by Modi that nobody's done it, the fact is the Americans were behind. And I have one question to ask Mr. Modi. I mean, if he was going to win the war in such a big way, then why the hell you have a ceasefire within 4 days? And what was the background behind it? What is the background of 6 planes being shot down? Maybe more, maybe less, I don't know. But some planes have been shot down. Now, gentlemen, we come to the other issue here now, is Russia. Now, Russians have shown that they are resilient and they will continue fighting for another 3 years, 4 years, which is not the case with Ukraine and the Western part. Ukraine, gentlemen, is devastated. Khatam ho gaya. Everything is over there. There's no infrastructure. There's nothing. They are just relying on weapons from America and doles of money to live. That way, you cannot survive. And America, at some stage, will feel the pinch of the wall. Even if Democrats had come into power, I'm sure they would have felt the pinch of the war because the American economy is nosediving, it's going down. And that's why Donald Trump has come and said, we make America again, and he's going about it in a different way. So he's using the carrot and the stick. There's a lot of investment coming into America now, as per the new trade agreements which have been signed. But all that will be frittered away if America supports the war in Ukraine. That is the crucial issue. And again, I repeat what I said earlier in my video, that Donald Trump is the key to the entire thing. If he wishes the war to stop, he has to exert himself. Assert himself. He can't allow Macron to start dictating sitting in Paris, And when France itself is a power which never won a bloody war in the last 200 years. And they won't win against Russia also. The British have lost their empire. They're just sitting now facing Islamic resurgence in their hometown, in their homeland. I don't think anything else. The Germans were so devastated, they think twice of getting into a war with Russians after the massive defeats they suffered in World War II. So, gentlemen, it's a touch and go situation, but I think I'm an optimist. I think the Russian terms ultimately may be a little watered down, but they'll be accepted. And all depends on Donald Trump. I think, gentlemen, I close now. I'll say goodbye. God bless. In the meanwhile, if you like my video, please share it with your friends. I look forward to that. And subscribe to my channel. Give your comments. Share it. And come back again. Goodbye. God bless. And Jai Hind.